call to order. Dave?
Here.
Joel?
Here.
Timmy? And I'm here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you. Now we're gonna do the flag salute, please. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Now is the time for citizens' comment. This is the time for citizens to comment on subject matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the Pixley Union School District Board. The board cannot legally discuss or take official action on citizens' requests, items that are introduced to me. In fairness to all who wish to speak, each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes with a maximum time of 15 minutes per item, unless otherwise extended by the board. Please begin your comments by stating and spelling your name and providing your home address. Are there any comments?
We did not receive any through the email.
And I don't see anything in the live comments at the moment. We'll wait another minute or so just to make sure we give everyone enough time to.
Fine.
Are we like on Zoom or what?
Okay.
It'd be a bad time to tell everybody by the FBI.
We are getting a request to see if you guys could speak louder into the microphones.
Okay.
But otherwise, I don't have any additional comments here from the citizens or the chat.
Okay. Discussion study items. 2.1.
I apologize, everyone, for having to be behind you. We have our live feed this way and my PowerPoint this way. So, Joelle, I'm very sorry. I just want to go into, this is a board budget study session, so we can do some questions and answers and see how we feel about going forward and give you some of the update from the May revise. I will tell you, I listened to the May revise. I have a meeting with Tulare County Office of Education on Friday morning, a Zoom meeting where they're going to give us all of their recommendations and projections, and it's solely for our county. So everything that's here is a projection, the best information I have at the time from emails, from workshops that I've seen.
And Jan, if I might chime in, just so the board realizes this is a study session. There's no action items, nothing for approval,
Yes.
but all questions are free.
Yes,
Okay.
just discussion, and it's very preliminary numbers. I just need to get the feel from you guys, on building the 2021 budget, if we have any items we would like to discuss. Okay, my first slide just puts forth some values. Our values are our people, our students and staffs, our little legged people. our programs that benefit our students, and our professional development that increase staff knowledge and provide valuable learning strategies for our staff. What we know so far from the governor's May revise, we had a total reduction for our LCFF base revenue at 7.69%. If you remember last meeting, we were projecting 10%. So this was a nice surprise. We're still not getting any COLA, we're still negative. However, it wasn't the whole 10%. So instead of the over $1 million, we're looking at $835,873 for our reduction. From what I know at this time, Tulare County Office of Ed does our LCFF calculations, so they will be sending that to me, and if they have any other adjustments that they know of, we'll have a more concrete understanding then. The governor did do a buy down, like last year, of STRS and PERS, which was actually very nice too. We are projected to save for the STRS pension rate 2.26%, and for the PERS 1.97%, for an overall savings of 4.23%. That's projected to be about 135,000, almost 136,000. That's my projection based on our salaries at this time. There could be movements, there's a lot of variables inside of that projected savings. I wanted to remind you guys that the LCFF reduction does not account for our declining enrollment deduction that they're giving us. Because of our declining enrollment, we are down 563,451, as you can see, from 1920 to 2021. The governor had talked about walking some monies back from 1920, so hopefully that does not come up on the horizon a little bit later. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are keeping that in mind, that we do have additional reductions. But the governor also gave us CARES Act funding, and we were not allowed to project for it prior to this. We just got the okay because they released the preliminary allocations to us. We will be receiving $508,726 preliminary. And this is to increase the federal revenue for one-time funding to address the impact of COVID-19. So this is one-time monies. They're very specific about warning, making sure you're not using this for ongoing items. This is to help you get by through this year with these cuts, because we still don't know what 21-22 looks like. So if we look at our reduction in our LCFF between revenue and declining enrollment, and then we add our STRS and PERS savings and our CARES Act revenue, we're down a little over 750,000 for this year at this time. Due to our current economic situation, Monty and Nancy and I had a meeting yesterday and on Friday, and we're looking at doing a hiring freeze, not backfilling any positions that have became open or will become open unless they're absolutely necessary. We have 4 certificated teachers that will be leaving for general fund savings of $380,684. They're all funded out of the general fund, or the EPA funding, which is a portion of the general fund. Classified, retirement, and part-time positions, we have $92,988. We have a letter with CSEA regarding negotiations for the reduction of hours on 3 positions, which could potentially save $80,000, but I don't know when we'll have those negotiations and when those savings would be recognized. We plan on reviewing the budget line by line, going through every line, every program, every purchase, every expense that we have, and seeing where we can capitalize on savings. We want to look at the budget, that the line items that are not tied to funds, people, or programs. I'm sorry, not funds, people, programs, or professional development, so that we can bring those back into our beginning balance. I've done some of that with our LCAP funds, but I'm still going through, waiting for the last bills, the last salaries to go through before I can positively know that answer. Reviewing the need for any extra hours, any additional assignments, really tightening down on the OT or extra assignments that we have, and only what's absolutely necessary. Review and negotiate current stipends. We would like to go into negotiations with everyone and revisit some things that maybe aren't applicable right now or just need to be revised. Reduce substitute cost if we can provide someone from in-house versus for a day or a half a day, just seeing how we can reduce those costs going forward. We had, with COVID and us ending school, it didn't end up being, my projection was about 65,000 and we ended up about 40. So we had a lot of long-term substitute costs last year. And looking at our average daily attendance, maximizing ADA, analyzing our students that are moving out of the district. We have been doing this, it's just really hard to capture them, utilizing short-term independent study. In the May revise that I listened to today from school services, it did mention using a 3-year rolling average so that we're not penalized in the following years, but I don't have any print for that to know exactly what they were referring to. If it was, I'm sorry, there's a gnat or something. A fly. Excuse me. So just really looking at our ADA, where are our kids going? Why are we in declining enrollment? At Tulare County schools, a lot of the rural schools are facing this, and we haven't found an answer, but continuing to research that so that we can figure this out and get our ADA back up. Our reserves. I'm in the process of preparing for 2021. As of Friday after my Zoom meeting with Tulare County Office of Ed, I'll have everything in writing for the current information we have at the time to prepare the 2021 budget. We currently are projecting ending balance of 9% according to our current budget comparison report that I've rolled with those LCUMP balances being zeroed out, etc. Nancy and Monty and I were meeting and we were talking about the board reserve. Our current resolution is from quite a few years ago, and the board would like to be at a 12% reserve, and I know we would like to be there currently, but we wanted to have a discussion when we're done with the presentation on where you guys see us moving forward. The recession is deemed to be worse than 2008. Lastly, I wanted to point out our elementary modernization. Nancy had recommended that maybe we would like to look at applying for a certificate of participation loan. We applied for a COP when we finished the gymnasium, the band room, and the third wing with the intention that we were going to be reimbursed by the state, and we were not. That was a $2.3 million COP that currently we owe 1.1, I believe, on. But the scary part of what's coming up is the June deferral. From my projections, we'll be okay into August payroll unless we receive any other deferrals. But we want to keep our cash on hand because we need to make those payrolls. We do have our OPEB fund, which is $575,000 that we generally borrow from at the beginning of the school year if we have, or cafeteria or the general fund needs a little bit of a loan until we get into a good position. Currently the elementary mod, I know we're all receiving these emails. We're working on reducing the budget. We know we're over budget. We're looking at things that we can cut to make the project stay within only the grant funds that we have allowable, because if you remember the middle school, we got into a little kink because after it was all built and said and done, the state came in and said, you guys needed to put a well in. You can't run this school until you have a well. And that was $550,000 that we didn't know that we needed to spend. So we're looking to make sure Joelle's done a great job of alleviating any issues where those type of surprises are gonna come up. So what we're looking at with that currently is we had budgeted for the 1920 year $120,000. I adjusted the budget. We have paid DKJ almost $95,000. So we have about approximately $25,000 left in this year's budget. Joelle has projected that our soft costs and inspector and Luke, his fees for coordinator would be approximately $70,000. We wouldn't recoup any of these funds, the $120,000 or the $70,000, until September, maybe October, when the state reimburses and grants us all the money for our modernization. So we're looking at the need. If we apply for the COP, we'll have the cash on hand and we'll be able to pay the COP back at a very low interest rate. Something to consider. And that is my last slide. We can go on to,
Can you go back down?
yes.
For a minute?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I see Luke up there at 4,000 now and down here at 9,000. So what's the difference or what's going on?
We were prorating out June because he wasn't going to be needed. I'm sorry, May. We were prorating May if he was needed in 2 weeks in May, and then 3,000 for June. So then there was July, August, September, $3,000 each month. I don't know if he'll be used in May because we're already mid-May and we haven't done anything that I know of with Luke's help, but it's in the budget.
We've had talks with Luke just coming on when we need him, be really strategic with his hours. So those are just placeholders.
Yes.
David, if you can use the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Questions. I'm getting messages that they couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Any other questions, or can we go to discussion? Sure. Okay.
Did somebody has more questions?
So how much if we do apply for that loan, what is the amount that we need?
Timmy, I think we would have to have a construction meeting and really evaluate the monies that we would apply for. My projection would be, I believe it would be approximately 200,000 is what I was thinking. But I would really want to go over those figures again. That's just rough estimates from Joelle and I going back and forth.
What interest rate is that on usually when we do that?
I can find that out for you.
Okay.
So, when we need to decide to do the.
To apply for the
to
COP
apply for-
soon. If we were going to do it, we would want to start working on it right now. Possibly have something for the June 9th meeting.
Do you have an idea around what interest? I know it's not gonna be accurate, but
I don't, Joel, I'm
Something-
sorry. We just spoke about
No.
this yesterday, so I haven't been able to get it. I know that home loans are very low interest right now,
Mhm.
but I would definitely have to speak to somebody that's in that area.
Well, how about if we consider doing the loan, and if we don't need it, we turn it back? I know there's gonna be probably some costs, because
Fees.
you're gonna have fees or paperwork or whatever, but, let's find out about that. Say if we got our feet on the ground for the loan, and if we didn't need it, what would it cost us just to go through the motion in case?
Okay. Okay, I can check into that and get some answers for you guys and email you.
So Jennifer, in the year 2021, our projecting reserves are 9%.
Our ending projected balance of reserves for 1920 is 9%. I'm going through I did the third year MYP. I'm sorry, the third MYP, third interim, and we were projecting about 10%. So, but that was before we decided to do. We had done some of these cuts and I kind of built it in. So I'm starting from scratch. I'm going through everything that we've purchased this year and building our budget. It's called a zero budget, building a zero budget versus when I do our multi-year projections, you plug in where you're at the time. You plug in, all of your working numbers on what you think you're going to end the school year with. Then you have the 2 years out. Well, the 2 years out, you project, like you add 1% for step and column for teachers, or 1% for step and column for classified pending negotiations. You can add in a healthcare increase. Operations, I could add 1 or 2%. So it's based on what you're currently doing and you're projecting out and you're just adding percentages unless there's something that you truly know that you're going to add or you're going to cut. So this year I'm trying something a little bit new and I'm going through, I've always went through them, but not with a fine-tooth comb because I was never taught to do it that way. And I watched a webinar where they built it and they went through every single number, every line item, and built their budget from a zero balance.
Okay.
So, as of right now, we have payroll for June, July.
August, I don't see any problems. July's not very much because it's just the 12-month employees. The teachers and the people that are 11 months, they're getting their deferred pay that they've already paid in. So we don't have a significant payroll in July. I think I looked at last year's and it was like 65,000 versus our 960,000, which starts in September because we add all of our stipends. So the September payroll is higher. And even getting into October, you start having the teachers that are doing tutoring and addition as the school year starts up. So it progresses a little bit September and October. August is more of a just baseline payroll.
I just remember a long time ago when I first got on the board putting in that 12% because I thought we better have some reserves. With the salaries and wages that are going on nowadays, is it too low?
I definitely think we need to bump up our reserve given that there's a looming recession. There's so many variables right now with what school's going to look like when we open. That's a whole different discussion Monty can have. I'm not versed in that. We just have so many variables in there for this coming school year. And it's really late in the game. We're already in May they're looking at the window where we could do certificated layoffs by August 15th if you needed to. That's one of the big things. And you have your classified 60-day notice. So it's definitely doable. It's just.
You think we should reach for 20%?
I think that's a building block. I don't think you can do that in 1 year. I think you have to build that.
No, I know. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, should we be looking, maybe set our goal a little bit higher and reach for that instead of the 12%?
I think so. I would feel more comfortable with, prior to this year, everything I had heard, or prior to this last 6 months probably, was reaching for a 15 to 17% reserve would put you in a good position. So I think a 17 would be a really good number.
Okay.
You said 17 would be a good number?
I believe it would be.
At our last meeting, I thought I overheard people saying they had some ideas for helping out. Did they come forth, or?
I had a hard time hearing at the last meeting a lot of things, so I'm not sure.
Shelley, he's resident, said
Oh,
he
okay.
wanted to reach out, they might, the unions might have something to help out, some ideas to help out.
Okay. That's nice.
We also have negotiations pending for both unions, so Nancy and I will be reaching out and connect with the unions and start that process.
Any more questions?
So as of right now, anything could change, so the numbers
It will change.
will change. Or,
The only thing certain is uncertainty.
so like, good, bad, or
We're in very uncertain times. I don't think anybody, there's projections of things, but I don't think anybody truly knows what to expect right now. And I would feel better after Friday, after I have the meeting with TCOE, to see what they're filtering through all the information they're getting as it pertains to our county. Right now, I'm just feeling unsure. I just know what the governor's budget said.
Okay. And have we, so as of right now, we're not cutting anybody for sure, as far as making any cuts, but are we gonna do any rearranging as far as being, I know we're top heavy, especially coming into this next school year, we're gonna be top heavy. Is there any way that we can reassign, move people?
I defer to Nancy.
Would you like to
Monty?
speak to that, or?
Sure. Absolutely. With the opportunity with the August 15th date, we will have an opportunity to move people around if we've certificated people if necessary. And that also applies to administration. Just have to make sure that we fit meet the criteria.
And what are those criterias?
The conditions for the August 15th layoffs are that a state budget is approved, that it demonstrates a negative 2% in your LCFF. And once those two indicators are satisfied, you can pretty much do what you could do March 15th on August 15th.
Oh. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Timmy, I'd just like to make share something. When all of you interviewed me a couple of weeks ago, a couple of my promises to you as we were going through that interview, one that I would promise we would protect our people and the programs that are directly connected to students, and also professional development. And also, it would be my interest that we would do no deficit spending, and we would build that reserve that we're talking about. I believe that if we do a 2.5% every year, that we will reach that number, 17 to 20% reserve, and that we don't have any audit findings. And those are the pieces that I would be interested in really working toward. Our people are very important to us, and we want to do everything else we can. Some of the strategies that Jennifer put up on the PowerPoint, where we're going to go line by line and sweep all the monies that we currently have available to us that are not connected to people, programs, or professional development. And there's a lot of money out there that we will be able to sweep. And if we really get a handle for the next few years in making sure that the work is done within our work hours, will really minimize the overtime. Extra assignments, really work hard to complete any activities that we're doing within, again, our work hours and with the people that we have, and minimize the number of additional assignments. That will also save us. We're not going to be in the crisis forever, but for the next 2 or 3 years, it will be very, very important for us to watch every dollar that we spend. And I think that if we go into next school year with that mindset, that it will be a positive year. Will there be some bumpy areas? Of course, but again, we will look ahead. We will plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Now that you mention that, I do have, because we are going into the 3 years where we don't know. I know it's been brought up in the past as far as having budgets for each department, and since we are having to be nitpicking on everything, is there any way that we can see about, we don't necessarily have to do it, but I would at least like to see just budgets for every department, school site, and try to go off of that.
Yes, Nancy and I spoke about this. Currently, we have our routine restricted maintenance. That's one budget. Joel has his one budget. Shelley has her one budget. The school sites have allocated money, but they're constantly asking, well, what can we purchase? I said, well, what do you really need? So Nancy and I had spoke about that and holding them accountable for it. They've never done that, a site-specific budget. But we are looking at that, and we're going to build our budget that way. And
I would at least like to go through everything, and so we have like the necessities, like we have inspections or stuff that have to be done yearly, and I wouldn't at least have that accounted for in the budget. But as far as any expenditures going down to auto parts or anything, picking stuff like that, at least having that directed into the budget, at least seeing at least what that would look like.
right, and we do that. With the whole system that we put in for the purchase orders has that site overview. The site person is, whichever supervisor it is requesting. Then it comes to myself. I put it in. I assign a funding source to it. Goes to Gabby. Gabby has the release, so we have a separation of duties, and then it goes to the superintendent for signature. So we are monitoring that very closely. The only difference is that the school sites do not have those budgets. They're allocated those budgets. They just don't have a spreadsheet that says, oh, this is my budget.
Okay.
But those monies should also align with the LCAP and also their SIPSA. And so we have those spending budgets for a purpose. And so the actions and the expenditures, again, should align with what's going on at the school sites.
Speaking of our SIPSAs, we have work to do with that. There was supposed to be a new template with the new LCAP, looking at our current SIPSAs, which will be a June approval item. We haven't been able to do the boots on the ground work to build the SIPSAs because of the closure. And I had reached out to the county, and there was supposed to be training set up. We were waiting for a new template, but we will bring those forth with June because we need them approved. They have to be aligned, like Ms. Rubel pointed out, with the LCAP and our goals. The June meeting's getting really, really thick.
Ooh. Any more questions or comments?
Just thinking back over the last year, looking at our expenses and maybe where money was wasted or not used uh, physically sound, might say, we need to make sure that don't happen again. And so I hate to put it on somebody's back like that, but we all need to be paying attention to the budget. And that wasteful spending, the brakes are on.
I concur.
Did we, I know we haven't collected Chromebooks yet, but did we account for, repair and maintenance as far as that coming back and?
I think you guys should tell them the good
Yeah,
news.
can I spoil it, Eric, and give the news? So I completed a survey with one of the CDE companies, either Homeless or they asked, Eric, how many Chromebooks would we need? What do we have in LCAP? Well, we're gonna buy 360 new Chromebooks next year because they're no longer usable on the internet. So Eric got a call, I got a text, and they sent us 360 brand new Chromebooks. So it's at Home Depot, and that's a staggering, like, that's a positive, that's $150,000 that we had, in our LCAP to re-up our Chromebooks. So that's a huge benefit to us. I do want to take a moment to say, working with Nancy and Jennifer over the last couple of days on this meeting, our hearts are in the right place. Our hearts are with Pixley employees, and we are fighting for everybody's job. And so, I'm proud to be a part of the team. And I just wanted to throw that out in public. Also, Timmy, a couple questions ago you mentioned that we are a little top heavy. I did throw it out there and in those meetings of a salary freeze for myself, or some internal adjustment that we could do for the greater good, because we do have to deal with that. But it sounds like we'll have a year to kind of figure some of these things out. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. That's nice, 360 computers, that's amazing.
Yes, awesome.
Devices that we are receiving is not touchscreen, so we will have to figure out the placement of where we would best serve us.
In addition to that, we had researched building a Wi-Fi tower in Pixley, $78,000 bill. Tim Heyer is going to bring Wi-Fi to the entire county. Eric and I are working on mapping out Pixley and figuring out how do we get internet to Teviston and these areas. So I know it's a lot of bad news, and we do live in crazy, crazy uncertain times. But we do get these little, positives. The CARES money is huge. These Chromebooks are huge. The county help's going to be huge.
We just have to focus on those little positives that get us through.
We have to think positive. Yes. Absolutely. Any more questions about 2.1? Good. Okay. So item 2.2, trustee area 5 appointment discussion.
So, I received a phone call from Fernie Marquin, who works for TCOE. And I know that Monty shared this with you last week at the board meeting. Monty indicated, that he was looking for a waiver for the election. Mr. Marquin shared with us that there really is no waiver. There's no exception to the law. But Tim Heyer is not right now interested in going forward with a special election, partly because it is very, very costly. He's looking at providing a little bit of grace time for us. It's not much, but it is a little. And so if we can find someone between now and our next board meeting, then we can appoint that person. They, if they are interested in being put on the ballot, then they would be able to fill out the paperwork and run on the November election. If there isn't anyone, if that person is not interested in continuing on and being voted in, then that position then will just open up again, and we'll go through the process again. So that's how that will work.
And that's trust area number 5?
Correct.
So since we're live out there, we are looking for a board member in trustee area 5. You need to be 18, registered voter, and live in the area. So please reach out.
Do we have a round, like a general address?
Terabella 99, and then Avenue 80 and Road 160, all around. So if anybody knows somebody that wants to come and serve at district, let us know, please.
And even our board members, if you know anyone in that area 5 that may be interested, it's not against the Brown Act for you guys to go out and see if that person is interested in being on our board. I couldn't go out and recruit, even though I would if I could. But you guys can do that with no problem. But we do have to continue our search and try and get someone in.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or any comments from the board?
We're good.
So I need a motion to adjourn the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.